little issues with our Zoom, and it was on my fault. But welcome to Mom on the Right, and then, like I said, David Almasi from the National Center of Public Policy Research. David, tell me about your organization and why it's so pertinent in today's culture.
Well, the National Center was started in the early 80s under the Reagan administration with a very broad and unique mission to look where the conservative movement needs to be bolstered, where it needs to be propped up, and help in that way. So we're an organization that will change our view, change our mission to meet the needs of the conservative movement. When I was an intern with the organization back in 1987, we were talking about communism in foreign policy. We were talking about Nicaragua. We were talking about Afghanistan. We were talking about the Strategic Defense Initiative. Now we're talking about regulations. We're talking about environmental issues. We've got the Free Enterprise Project, which is shareholder activism. And we've got Project 21, which is for African-American conservatives to promote the diversity of opinion within the Black community.
No, thank you, David. And I mean, we've really morphed into this. I don't know. I feel like we're worse now than we were then. That's just my opinion. Good, but can you tell me what is there like a thing today that you're passionate about against making sure that, hey, there's freedom of speech, there's freedom of religion, and that conservative rights and the rights of all Americans are protected? Is there something that you're really passionate about that you like to share?
Well, the biggest thing that we've been doing right now has been the Free Enterprise Project, which is pointing out to people that corporate America is being used as a muscle by the left to get their agenda. And these companies are being persuaded with the idea that they need to go left. They need to promote the leftist agenda. And it was interesting, we were at the Proctor and Gamble shareholder meeting just this morning, and Procter and Gamble, as you remember from the Super Bowl, they put the toxic masculinity ad out where they spent a lot of money in a very expensive commercial to basically rip on their base, their male base. And then they followed it up a couple months later with the commercial about transgender and shaving, a man teaching his daughter how to shave. And they ended up taking an $8 million loss this year.
So was it worth it, Gillette? No.
Yeah, $8 billion. And so we brought it to the CEO. Would you like to admit that you made this problem, and why do you feel that you need to do this sort of thing? And the CEO said, young people want to see an activist corporation. They want to see us going out and doing these sorts of things. And it's funny because after he blew off our suggestion, he took some questions from some young women who wanted the company to stop making paper products, to basically stop making basic items that they have been putting out. And he didn't want to hear it from them. So it was interesting. We were asking them to be more, we were just asking them to just stay out of politics. Exactly. And they said, oh, well, the young people want it. But then when the young people came with the next step, which is, of course, taking away cutting their own legs off, I think they realize today just what kind of hole they've gotten themselves into.
I mean, $8 million, David. I mean, come on. I mean, and I've talked to other people who work with you, with Facebook and the censorship.
Mm-hmm.
If Gillette, $8 million, I would be like, oh, let's stay out of politics.
8 billion with a B. 8 billion.
Excuse me?
Billion. 8 billion. So that's huge for this company.
And they're going to continue. What is your, let's go back a little bit. So you think they're going to continue just writing this, this political narrative, this little left agenda?
That's what corporate America is doing right now. And that's why the Free Enterprise Project is so important.
Yeah.
These companies, Levi's, Dick's Sporting Goods, Coca-Cola, all these companies are pushing a left-wing message because they're being told this is what you got to do. You've got to be woke. And we're just asking them, we're not asking them to become conservatives. We're asking them to stay strong to their free market principles, which I guess makes them conservative, but just to be politically neutral. Because we have always said in these meetings, if you go in and you make a political stand in this environment, you're
Right.
going to probably anger at least half of the electorate. So why do it at all? And instead, just do what you do. Fly your planes, make your sodas, sell your hamburgers. Just don't feel you need to be political about it, because conservatives are starting to understand this. And Dick's Sporting Goods, which has been taking an anti-gun
Yes.
stand, they lost $250 million last year because of their stand. They're trying to dig in, but it's something that can really hurt someone who, in the case of Dick's, they sell guns. That's their job. And they're angering their customer base. And when the people don't come to buy guns anymore, they also won't come to buy soccer balls or golf clubs or anything
Exactly.
else that Sporting Goods sells.
And and this goes back because you've done a lot of your, the project has also worked on like going into like Facebook and confronting people. I
Mhm.
did an article on that, and what you're doing with Justin. I commend you. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to go into a shareholders meeting and be like, this. What about this? What about this? You're alienating your conservative and the faith-based people. Can you share about what's going on with now? Facebook is they're actually getting very serious about the 2020 election now. I mean,
Yeah. We were there to ask about the deplatforming of conservatives and the
yeah,
outright discrimination, as it seems, against conservatives. And Facebook is a company that doesn't really want to hear from the rest of us. They think they know a lot more than the rest of us. And unfortunately, when it
right.
comes to shareholder activism, Mark Zuckerberg still owns 52% of the voting stock. So anything that we
Okay.
try to bring up in a shareholder resolution gets voted down not by a coalition of people who are opposed to us, but by one guy who happens to own the company. So obviously, it's an
Right.
uphill battle there. But conservatives are it's well known. Actually, one of our other programs, Project 21, one of our members, Jerome Hudson, just wrote a book in which, in part of it, he mentions how important social media is to the electoral process, and
Mm-hmm.
how groups like Facebook and Google and all that
Cool.
can effectively throw millions of votes by suppressing information, by suppressing the ability for us to speak, or for people that are conservative or whatever to be able to see information that they want to see and could help them get a balanced viewpoint.
Are you seeing like in these meetings also like any like with Gillette? I mean that. Thank you so much for that. Are they go? You think they're going to budge at all? I heard that as long as it hurts you in your pocketbook, your wallet, people change their minds about things. I mean, what do you
Right.
think? You think things are going to change, or
If we can,
you think?
we don't ask them to do anything but to go back to normal. And we've brought up
Right.
to Levi's, for instance, about how their anti-gun activism, if people know about it, if people learn about it, they're less likely to want to buy Levi's Dockers, jeans, things like that.
Right.
And we think that they are not doing too well at the moment. Dick's didn't do too well. These companies need to understand. Gillette, or the Proctor and Gamble through Gillette, didn't do very well. These companies need to understand that there is a backlash, and conservatives are realizing more and more that they're under attack. So if that means that when you go to McDonald's, you don't get the Coke, you don't get the Pepsi, because both of those companies are very
Yeah.
liberal, it's a pretty easy thing for people to do.
And
To buy
I don't think people pay attention though, right, David? I mean, they don't really pay
yes,
attention to that.
people need to to
Okay.
understand more. And I think you're seeing a
Okay.
lot more of this. You're hearing more about these woke companies. And so the more people learn about them, and we're of course trying to raise the alarm, the more that people know about this, I think the more that they will be conspicuous consumers, and these companies will start realizing. Because in a lot of cases, you've got, let's say, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola can be as woke as they want, but are they really catering to the soda drinking crowd when they do these liberal things, when they join on with these abortion causes or against the bathroom bill in Georgia like they did? I don't think so. And they need to realize who their real customer base is. And Target had that problem when they decided to open up their bathrooms and their dressing rooms. They took a big loss, and they attributed it to the fact that customers weren't coming in there anymore because they were afraid of what might happen to them, their safety.
I mean, and it's just going to progressively get. I mean, when I was growing up, I heard that you just stay out of politics. When it comes to business, you stick to your business, you stick to your product, you support your consumer base. Is there anything that you, on a positive note, do you see anything changing on the positive side for the work that you do? I mean, guys do so much. You got Project 21. I talked to Jerome. He's phenomenal. I mean, your whole staff is great, and you got such a mission. Can you tell me anything positive from what you're doing? Have you seen anything positive? Because, everything's kind of negative right now in the headlines.
Well, last year we put out for Project 21, we put out the blueprint for a better deal for Black America, and we're currently working on the second edition of the blueprint. And these are policy recommendations that primarily are driven by helping Black Americans achieve full equality, to find prosperity and more opportunity, but it will, in time, help everybody. And we're working on a second version of that now, but that we've worked on cafe reform, which is getting better efficiency for our cars and not having to spend a lot of money and not maybe having to get new cars to meet government regulations. That was a success for us. We have worked with the administration. We've worked with Congress about trying to get welfare reform. Now, we didn't get it legislatively, but we're working on it in the regulatory realm right now to make sure that welfare is not just something that can be a generational thing, that it's a safety net. It's not a way of life. And in the new one, we're going to be working on things like housing. We're going to be working, again, more stuff on criminal justice reform, wealth creation, and things like that as a way to work with there are members of the House and Senate who do want to work with us. The White House definitely does want to work with us on these things, and that's something that we've not seen with previous administrations, and we're very happy about that.
What are you getting from, so you said that, wow, maybe you guys should run for office. Maybe you get something done. Maybe we'll see something. No, I'm being facetious, but I'm not. It's reaching across party lines and so forth. In 2020, what would be your biggest goal as an organization?
Well, we will be putting out the new edition of the blueprint. So we hope that will be something that will be embraced by lawmakers, by candidates. We're a nonprofit, so really, as far as 2020 as an election goes, we're really on the sidelines watching that. But in the new year, we're going to have all new set of shareholder meetings. We're going to have shareholder proposals, and also hopefully a new attitude from some of these companies, because we have been working their shareholder meetings for years. We've developed good rapport with these companies. And one of the things that you've probably talked about with Justin is our true board diversity, where we've asked that boards look at the political views of their nominees rather than just say gender or race or something like that. That has taken hold. A lot of companies have actually accepted that without us even going to the shareholders. So we're looking forward to seeing more of that in the new year, and being a voice for conservatives in these boardrooms.
Especially what's coming up, like as far as the boardrooms, like Apple. I know you've been to Apple, of course, Facebook. Can you tell me are you allowed to even tell me what meetings you'll be at in the new year?
I could tell you, but we just aren't really sure yet. We're still,
it's going to shake out?
The way things shake out, and who knows what can happen current events-wise between now and then anyway. So
You're right.
We didn't expect to go to the Dick's meeting, but then suddenly the Parkland thing happened, and then we were there. We bought our shares, and we were there.
So you just buy. So is that what you do? You buy the shares, and then you ambush them?
Well, we don't ambush them. We just show up at their meeting as we're invited to do as investors. But
smart.
Anyone can go to one of these meetings. If you're a shareholder, if you buy a share of a company's stock, you're allowed to go to these meetings.
You hear that, guys? So save up your pennies, and you can make a difference, like David.
Yeah, we encourage people to mimic us, definitely.
That's very important, David, because I never knew that. It's like, all you can do is like, all right, don't buy it. You buy it, you don't buy it to support a product, or don't support a product. But you guys, listen, if you have money, you want to make a change and, advance conservative views and just values, and just level the playing field, save your pennies up. And, like David said, let's do something here. I'll have to ask my boss for a raise. Is that cool?
There you go.
So, David, thank you so much for spending so much time with me today, and your your staff in the National Center for Public Policy Research has been phenomenal, not only to the Liberty Beacon, Mom on the Right, but they're changing America for the better. And it makes me feel better with all the headlines that I'm reading that I know we're against the grain, but we're making progress. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Anytime. We're happy to help.
All right, take care. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to have more information on this amazing organization and more interviews.